Alright, let's be real for a second. If I told you a guy lived to be 900 years old, that food fell from the sky, or that a dead body got up and walked away, you'd say, wow, that's some fantasy novel level nonsense. But put it in the Bible, suddenly, it's historical fact. So today, we're tackling some of the wildest biblical tall tales. Stories that, let's face it, are indistinguishable from magic tricks. And unless Christians can prove magic is real, then well, this is just ancient fan fiction. Let's start with the biggest joke of all. People in the Bible supposedly living to be 900 years old. Methuselah, 969. Noah, 950. Adam, 930. Sounds impressive. Until you realize that when we actually dig up ancient bodies, we find that people back then lived to be maybe 40 if they were lucky. And the oldest ones, around 50. That was elderly in the ancient world. But sure, let's believe Methuselah was out there collecting his 900th birthday card. Come on. Either ancient people were actually time travelers, or someone was just making up numbers. And let's not forget, the Bible itself starts walking it back. By the time we get to Moses, he only makes it to 120. By David, he's dead at 70. It's almost like they realized they overdid it. And what's with the sudden drop-off? Did God forget to renew the life extension plan? Did they switch to organic food too late? Or maybe, just maybe, these numbers were completely made up. The global flood that somehow nobody else saw. Next up, the story of Noah's Ark. You know, the global flood that somehow no one else noticed. According to Genesis, God got mad. Big surprise, and drowned every human, every animal, every city, except for one boat full of animals. Because, sure, that makes sense. Yet, while Noah was busy floating around with penguins and kangaroos, civilizations like the Egyptians and Chinese just kept on building pyramids and writing stuff down, with zero mention of a flood wiping them out. So the whole world was underwater, but the pyramids stayed dry. Got it? And speaking of logistics, how exactly did Noah collect every animal? Did he have VIP passes for kangaroos and polar bears? Did penguins waddle from Antarctica? Or did he just DoorDash them from God's divine pet store? And let's not even talk about the Ark itself. A 450-foot wooden boat loaded with every species, built by one old man and his sons. Yeah, that sounds structurally sound. And don't even get me started on storage. 2 of every animal, plus food for a year. Where did all the waste go? Noah out there shoveling elephant poop overboard. Either ancient shipbuilding was way more advanced than we thought, or maybe, just maybe, this never happened. Joshua stops the sun. Now, let's talk about one of the Bible's weirdest physics-breaking moments. In Joshua 10:12-14, Joshua prays for the sun to stop moving, and God freezes time, which is fascinating, because, you know, the Earth orbits the sun, so stopping it would literally throw the planet into chaos. Imagine God just slamming the brakes on Earth's rotation. Tsunamis, earthquakes, every living thing getting thrown like a rag doll. Yet somehow, everyone's fine. No ancient historians noticed. No global disasters recorded. Just another day in ancient Palestine. Almost like this never happened. Jonah and the whale. Now, let's talk about the biblical submarine adventure. Jonah 1:17. Jonah gets swallowed by a giant fish, hangs out in its stomach for 3 days, then gets spit out alive. Because yeah, nothing says divine plan like being whale vomit. Not to mention, stomach acid exists, and air, not exactly abundant in a fish gut. But sure, Jonah survived because reasons. Meanwhile, Pinocchio pulled the same stunt, and we all know that was fiction. The plague of the firstborn, selective divine murder. Exodus 12:29. God kills every firstborn in Egypt to prove a point. So let me get this straight. God can send a plague to selectively kill firstborns, but can't just teleport the Israelites out of Egypt. Or, I don't know, change Pharaoh's mind without all the mass murder. And did Egyptians not notice this firstborn plague in their own records? Because historians sure didn't. If this happened today, we'd call it a bioweapon attack, not divine justice. The talking stone, because snakes and donkeys weren't enough. Luke 19:40. Jesus says that if his followers are silent, the stones will cry out. So, if people stopped talking, we'd have a bunch of screaming boulders. Imagine walking down the street and hearing a rock start yelling about theology. Maybe that's where people got the idea for talking trees in Lord of the Rings. Birds feeding people. Divine Uber Eats. 1 Kings 17-6. God sends ravens to bring Elijah bread and meat in the wilderness. Hold up, ravens, one of the most scavengery birds out there, are delivering fresh meals. So, Elijah's sitting there eating food that was just in some bird's beak. Hope he liked the extra protein. What's next? Squirrels delivering Starbucks. Fiery horse chariots. Divine UFOs. 2 Kings 2:11. Elijah is taken to heaven on a flaming chariot. So heaven has horse-drawn transportation. What was the divine Uber app down? If someone today said they saw a flaming chariot in the sky, we'd assume they either saw a UFO or had way too much ayahuasca. But because it's in the Bible, totally historical. Samson's magic jawbone. The ultimate melee weapon. Judges 15:15. Samson kills 1,000 men with the jawbone of a donkey. 1,000 warriors armed with swords and spears. All taken down by a guy with a donkey jawbone. Was this thing a biblical lightsaber? Or were the Philistines just really bad at fighting? If this story wasn't in the Bible, it'd be in a Marvel movie. Miracles or just magic? So, let's sum up. The Bible claims people lived to be 900, a flood wiped out the world, but only one book recorded it. The dead came back to life, but no one wrote it down. The sun stopped moving, but physics is fine. And a guy survived being swallowed by a whale. And what do Christians say? Those aren't magic tricks, they're miracles. Okay? Then explain this. How are miracles any different from magic? So until someone proves magic is real, the Bible is just another ancient fairy tale. So what's the takeaway here? These stories are just ancient myths rebranded as miracles to keep people believing. But if magic isn't real, neither are these tales. And hey, if Christians want to prove otherwise, I'm still waiting for my donkey to start talking. Until then, let's call this what it really is. One of the most successful fantasy books ever written. If you enjoyed this, hit like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments. What's your favorite Bible magic trick? Let's talk about it.